This video will show you how to replace the power steering lines on a Toyota Matrix. This will be accessed from under the front of your vehicle. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. A quick note, you need to make sure you have the manufacturer's specified power steering fluid for this job. With that said, we are going to have to make our way underneath the front of the vehicle, so safely raise and support the vehicle. Let's remove our driver's side front wheel. To remove the driver's side front wheel, we're going to remove all 5 of our 21mm lug nuts and we can get the wheel off of here. Now we'll carefully make our way inside this area. Now as I'm reaching in, I can feel my power steering lines on my power steering rack. We're going to dislodge each one of the 2 lines from the power steering rack. Now keep in mind, there is going to be power steering fluid inside of your system, so of course we have a collection receptacle under this area. Fluid will make its way out. Now typically for these lines, you're going to find that they are rusted or rotted in place. You can try to remove them using a 17mm. If it feels like it's stuck in place and it won't turn, you may have to cut it out of place. If you did have to cut it, you want to make sure you're cutting on the tubing. Now, since mine does not turn the way that it should, I'm going to carefully use my saw. I want to be extremely careful not to cause any damage to anything. We can see my power steering rack bellows boot here. I'm going to start by cutting my top line. After I have this cut, of course, fluid will be making its way out, so I have my collection receptacle here. But I'm going to also start removing my fitting from the power steering rack afterward. For that, I can use a socket and I'll be able to hold on to all ends of that fitting. Now I'm going to be using a socket with an extension so I can remove that fitting. 17mm here. Just want to make sure it is turning. That looks good. Once you have it out of there, we need to inspect the power steering rack. Of course, we're going to inspect both ports. Let's go ahead and get the next line out of there. Now let's see if we can get that next line off of there. Once again, if we can't seem to get it off with our 17mm, we're just going to cut the line and then we'll be removing it with a socket. Now as you can see, our fitting is turning, but the line is stuck in it. We can continue turning this until the line eventually breaks, or we can just cut it. Okay, both lines are separated from the power steering rack. We just need to get this fitting out of here so we can do a thorough inspection prior to continuing on with the lines. Let's have a look into each one of these 2 ports. Now, when it comes to cleaning this, let's make sure we just use a clean rag. We're not using any type of detergents. That one as well. Both of those look good. Let's safely make our way underneath the front of the vehicle along the top of the front subframe. Now as we make our way underneath the front subframe here, we can see our sway bar, our catalytic converter, and we can see where our power steering lines make their way up and along the subframe. Now as you make your way towards the passenger side, you're going to find that your power steering lines have a bracket, and this bracket is attached to your power steering rack. We can see a 10mm bolt right up in this area. Go ahead and remove that. This can be removed from behind the subframe like I am here, or it's a little easier with a little more space up along the front of the subframe, closer to the oil pan. Now up in this area, I can just go ahead and get this socket on here. We're going to start turning this counterclockwise. Let's see if I got it broken free. Yeah. There's our bolt. Now at this point, we can move these power steering lines around quite a bit. Let's go ahead and pause underneath the vehicle. We're going to remove the passenger side front wheel next. We're going to remove all 5 of our 21mm lug nuts so we can remove the wheel. Now that we have that wheel off, let's have a quick look inside this area. Now we can see one of the power steering lines that we are replacing leading to a hose. We're going to wait on dislodging this, just in case there's any fluid here, because we're going to be making our way up along inside this area. Now as we make our way up here, we can see our power steering line. It leads up to this bracket. It goes up and over. Here's a 10mm bolt holding this in place. We'll remove that bolt first. You can see the line also makes its way down to the power steering pump, which is where we'll be heading. Now at this point I can separate the bracket from its mounting point. We're making our way down to the power steering pump at this point. For the fitting leading into the power steering pump, we'll be using a 19mm. Now once again, if this line is rotted, you may have to cut it and then just use a socket if necessary. Now, as you can tell, my line is spinning with my fitting. I'm going to have to cut this. Now you can try to get a saw in this area. You can also try using some cutters, or you can just break it, whatever's easiest for you. Now with that separated, let's go ahead and get this fitting out of here. Now we can use our 19mm to get this the rest of the way out of here. While we're in this area, let's just make sure we clean and inspect our power steering port. For this, I'm using a clean rag, no types of detergent. We're trying to remove any debris, wiping away from inside of the power steering pump. We don't want any debris getting in there. Now we can make our way to the hose that we can see that leads to the line that we're replacing here. It has a squeezable clamp. Squeeze the ears together, slide it out of the way, and remove the hose from the tubing. Just going to use some long nose pliers. And we can use a hose pick to help break this free. We're just trying to work our way around the hose here. It's common for it to be stuck in place. This is why we're using the pick. We have it separated. Just a quick inspection of the hose. Make sure it's soft and pliable, not torn, worn, or damaged in any way. If it looks like the end of the hose is slightly cracked, you could trim it. You just want to make sure you have enough slack on that hose to be able to reinstall it onto the new tubing. From under the vehicle, we're going to start removing our lines. We're going to have to do that just above the subframe here along the center. We can see our catalytic converter. Go ahead and take hold of the driver's side of the lines. We'll pull those out of place first. Let's let this drain into our bucket real quick before continuing on. We'll try to recycle as much of this fluid as possible without making any mess. Now obviously we can wait as long as we have to. Let's continue on with the rest of the lines. We're going to be pulling them out and away from the passenger side next. Now up in this area, there are some areas that you may potentially get caught. Just gently work it out of position, being extremely careful not to cause any damage to anything. There it is, friend. Now it's time to install our brand new power steering line set. Now for this, we're going to start with the passenger side of this line set. We of course need to start with the pressure line. We're going to gently flex this and we're bringing it up and over this area. We want to be extremely careful not to get any miscellaneous debris inside of the power steering line or system. Just be aware of everything as you continue on. We'll take our time. Now that I have the passenger side up inside this area, I'm not going to attach anything yet. Let's focus on the driver's side next. Now this has to go up and over the subframe and sway bar, and it's leading all the way over towards the power steering rack. Now don't get ahead of yourself. Once we have it over there, we need to install our seals before installing either one of our fittings. Let's go ahead and get this in place. You can just do these lines one at a time if necessary. Now, as I'm pushing this over towards the passenger side, I want to make sure that I have my steel line underneath my sway bar. So I'm just going to gently flex this while I'm in this area. Typically, you can just reach along, take hold of it. We'll pull it into the proper position. There we are. This is looking good. At this point, we can pause on this side of the vehicle. We'll be making our way back over. But for now, let's go over towards where our power steering lines go into our power steering rack on the driver's side. Now we can make our way through the driver's side wheel well. You're going to find in your kit, it came with several O-rings. We need to use these for each one of the ends of our lines here. So we'll just carefully take the O-ring and we're going to slide it over the tip of each one of the lines. You can start with whichever one you like. The next thing we'll do is lubricate each one of our two sealing O-rings with some clean power steering fluid. I have some in my glove finger here. It's going to help as a lubricant. Now as we start in the lines, we're going to do it one at a time. We'll start with the rearward lower line first. Now for this is going to be the stiff line, the one that does not have the rubber hose. You're going to find that you have to make slight adjustments with the line itself. You may have to make your way underneath the center of the vehicle to adjust the line as necessary. Now, of course, we do need to tighten our line, but before we tighten this, let's make sure that the other line aligns the way that it should. It's possible for one of the lines to be twisted around another in a way that it's going to restrict our access to the port. Assuming this does line up like it should, we can remove that second line and we'll continue on tightening the first. Okay, so this does look like it aligns the way that I need it to. This is exactly what I want to see. Now, like I said, I don't need to start screwing this in because I will have to remove it to tighten the first line. I know that this will line up the way that I need it to. I'm going to set it aside, making sure that I don't cause any damage to that sealing ring. We'll start tightening our first fitting. Now, before I fully tighten this one, I just want to make sure I'm in the proper orientation. You may need to make an adjustment to that hard line. We want to try to have it in an area that it's not going to get hit up against anything or bind. This looks good. Okay, right there's bottomed out. We'll just make sure that that's nice and tight. You don't want to have any fluid leaks around this area. There's no movement from this line. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Let's go ahead and repeat the process for the next line. As we bring this down, make sure your sealing O-ring is still in the proper placement and you are installing it straight, not off kilter in any way. can see my seal. Okay, both lines are tight. Go ahead and clean up the mess in this area so once everything's complete, we can double check for leaks. Now that we have our power steering lines tightened into our power steering rack, I like to go all the way over to the passenger side wheel well, and we're going to focus on the line going into the power steering pump next. Now as I come up in here, I'm attempting to align my pressure line with its corresponding port. We're going to take that line fitting, start it in by hand of course. Once we're sure it's started in by hand and straight, we can continue on to snugging it up. Now that I have that line started in, prior to fully tightening it, I want to make sure the line can still maneuver around a little so we can continue on with the bracket. Now as far as that bracket, we just need to swing it over so it's in the proper position. Once you have it in the proper positioning, continue on with your 10mm headed mounting bolt. For that, we're just going to start it in and we can snug it up. And then we're going to finish tightening this line. Okay, now that line is snug to my power steering pump. Let's move along to our power steering return line down inside the passenger side wheel well next. We can take that return hose. We're going to start it right onto our line. We do have the line in the proper placement underneath our front sway bar. You don't want it up and above. We'll press that hose all the way on there as far as possible. We're going to take our clamp and put it in the original positioning. Go ahead and take hold of that hose, confirm it's properly secured to the line. Now there is still one more mounting bolt and mounting bracket that we have to attach. For this, let's make our way safely under the front of the vehicle again. We'll adjust our hose so we can install our mounting bolt. Okay, that's bottomed out. Let's just make sure that bracket's fully secured in place. Now let's just make sure each one of our lines is properly secured in place and nothing is close to the exhaust. Your catalytic converter will get very hot while you're driving down the road and we don't want to cause any damage. Now once you're sure everything's secured along this area of the vehicle, we're going to start reinstalling our wheels. Let's go to the driver's side front. Now one last quick inspection inside of each one of our front wheel wells so we can install our front wheels. Now the process will be the same. We'll get the wheels in place. After that, continue on to your 21mm lug nuts. We'll bottom all of them out. After both wheels are snugged up, we'll get the wheels back on the ground and then torque both of them to 76 foot-pounds. Now I'm going over to the other side of the vehicle. I'll repeat this exact same process prior to bringing the wheel down to the ground to torque it. Both front wheels are snugged. We're back on the ground. I'm going to torque all of my lug nuts on each wheel to 76 foot-pounds in a crisscross manner. torqued. Now go over to the other side of the vehicle. Torque that front wheel to 76 foot-pounds as well, and then make your way to the engine compartment. Now it's time to fill the power steering system. Prior to opening up the reservoir, let's just use a rag. We're going to clean around where the cap is. We don't want any miscellaneous debris making its way inside the system. Once you've done that, go ahead and turn the cap counterclockwise. We're going to remove that. We can give it a quick inspection here. Just going to give this another wipe. I'm trying to make sure nothing makes its way inside the system as I do this. Now we can continue on with the manufacturer's specified power steering fluid. I'm just going to use a small funnel for this. If you were looking at the reservoir, you can see that we do have fill levels. Now when we do go to fill this, you're going to find that fluid will have to make its way down through the entire power steering system. So once we get the reservoir up to the top line, we're going to make sure both wheels are up and off the ground in the front, and then we're going to turn the steering wheel all the way in one direction and all the way in the other. We're going to repeat this process several times, and what you're going to find is the power steering rack will draw the fluid throughout the system. I'm in the passenger compartment. I have the key in the on position without the vehicle running. Both front wheels are up off the ground. Let's go ahead and turn that wheel. While I'm doing this, if you are paying attention to the reservoir, you're going to typically see air bubbles making their way up, and the fluid level will start making its way down. Now, I went side to side several times with the steering wheel. The fluid level's low, so I'm just going to add a little bit here. Now, when we do go to start this, typically fluid will continue going down, so I'm just going to bring it up just above this maximum line here. Remove that funnel. We're going to reinstall our power steering reservoir cap. Now that I've run the vehicle for a short while here, I don't have any noise coming from my power steering pump or from my serpentine belt. I'm just going to top off that reservoir one last time. Now my system is still cold. I have not been running it or driving it for very long here, so I'm not going up to the hot maximum line. I just want to go to the cold here. Just go a little bit higher than the minimum. Right around there. That looks good. Now keep in mind, as the fluid does heat up, it will start to expand a little bit. We don't want to go too high. If we're above the maximum line, that's going to be an issue. Make sure that cap's on there securely. It's not loose in any way, so no miscellaneous debris or moisture make its way into your power steering system. Okay, friend, we finished our installation. Now the next thing you need to do is run the vehicle, double check for leaks, close the hood, and take your vehicle for a road test. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.